getting together for spring vacations or for holidays, it might be easy for some, but for others it can be tense, no matter what time of year it is. Balancing different personalities and dynamics is always challenging, especially if you're dealing with a family member who is a bit of a narcissist, we'll say. And joining us now with some tips, licensed mental health counselor, Dr. Rachna Buksani Mirpuri. Thank you so much for joining us. For purposes of this, let's define narcissist.
Sure. Narcissism is in a spectrum. So, of course, we have narcissistic personality disorder, but those are the ones that are actually diagnosed. And to get diagnosed, you actually have to come in to the office. And most narcissists don't actually come in because they don't think that they are the problem. But narcissism is in a spectrum where you have, on one side, you have your very superficial sort of narcissists, just annoying the selfie people all the time. And then to the other extreme, you have what we call the malignant narcissist. And those people are just dangerous because they will use people, very manipulative, a little Machiavellianism in them. So they can basically use and throw people based on what their needs are. But in general, when you think about people with narcissistic personalities, they are people who are entitled, who are grandiose, selfish, who their needs are placed before anyone else's needs.
And I think that last part kind of nailed it, right? Because you're right. The spectrum could be everything from self-absorbed to controlling. But if you're talking about it, in this case, a family situation, say, for example, your parents, if their needs come first before yours, that creates a lot of stress. It creates a lot of problems and, in some cases, trauma. So if that is the case, what can you do? How can you deal with this? How can you address this if this is coming from someone in your household? If it's your parents, you're raised to respect them, but at the same time, if they're not respecting you, how do you adjust for that?
Sure. The first step is awareness. I think people need to know that they come from toxic family systems. The problem is children rarely will go around, labeling their parents as narcissists or even as toxic. So I think the awareness around this is extremely important. And once you are aware of that, that you come from such a family system, I think getting into therapy, getting help to heal with the trauma is extremely important. From obviously a counselor or a therapist that's trained in dealing with narcissistic personalities. I think it's very important to be able to work on your self, on your trauma. And, a lot of healing of trauma is actually healing that inner child of yours, right? So, dealing with those childhood neglect or the dismissiveness or the minimization, the invalidation of emotions. So, a right therapist is extremely helpful in this process.
Let me ask you this real quick because our time is going to be super short. If you're in a household where you feel like the love is not given, you have to work for it, you have to earn it, okay? If that's the way that you're looking at your parents treating you, before you are an adult, can you change? I mean, I think it's human nature to want to change your parents' behavior based on how you receive that. Should you try to change that, or should you just work on yourself and how you react to the way that you're being treated?
Absolutely, 100%. Please work on yourself. There is no way to change someone else, and especially narcissistic personalities, because they lack the basic insight into what is going on with them, and they lack the ability to self-reflect. So please, do not waste your efforts on that. Just take care of yourself. And that will make sure that the generational trauma is not carried on to your children.
Dr. Rachna has an entire book out on this right now. If this is something that interests you or impacts you, I encourage you to look into that for sure. In the meantime, thank you so very much for joining us this morning. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. We're going to take a short break. Back with our social scene next at 7:52.